Hey everyone, what's going on? Welcome to the channel and thank you for taking your own time out to click on this video where today we're talking about ReBroken, which comes on digital and on demand on March 7th, but I got to check this out a little bit early thanks to the awesome folks at Gravitas Ventures. So this movie I was very intrigued by because on the main poster itself is Tobin Bell. Great actor, especially in the Saw franchise, but I have checked out a movie of his a couple of years ago he did with Jason Mack called The Father's Legacy, so it's really cool to see him do kind of like another indie-based movie. Essentially, the story of ReBroken is all focused on a character called Will, who is a very kind of down in the dumps, very having a tough life as a dad who has recently lost his daughter, but through a stranger he meets, he can actually communicate with her through recordings. So yeah, the story here is also done by Scott Ham-Duens, if I've got that right, and written by Kipp, Tribble, who both those guys star in the movie, especially Scott Ham, who is the main actor, and Kipp Tribble is almost kind of like the main actor as well, as a character called Brian. We've also got Tobin Bell here, who plays a character called Vaughn. Kenny Yates plays a character called Ronnie, and Naiji Okoro plays Lydia. So what can I say honestly about my opinions of this movie after checking it out? Well, I can say that this movie had potential. It had some great aspects going for it. Unfortunately, however, it tries to replicate endings that we've seen before in movies that's been done better. So the positives that I can give this movie overall is I enjoy the acting and the performances all around here. Everyone gives a good performance. Tobin Bell, for the screen time that he does get, it's not a lot. Yeah, he's a joy to watch. You know, he shows up, he kind of does something very similar to characters we've seen him play in the past, but it's not necessarily a bad thing at all. It kind of helps elevate this movie and the material that he's given with. There's some really nice cinematography here with some kind of wide shots and longer take shots, and there is some cool editing techniques used in here that I thought, wow, that's quite unique. So I really enjoyed those aspects of the movie, and I felt like with this being a lower budget to start with, it obviously had a lot going against it because of maybe that budget factor, but I felt like at times the budget fit well and it serves its purpose for what it needed to do. I feel like this movie had an underlying story that was quite interesting, but unfortunately that's where it leads into my negatives with ReBroken, because I feel like, as I say, this movie has definitely been done before. I'm not going to mention the movie that this is very similar to in terms of the ending, because that would be a huge spoiler, and I'm not going to spoil that for you. And I just feel like it tried to go too fancy, or some of the editing techniques, as I said before, I praise, but then some of the editing techniques I felt was a little bit off, or it didn't necessarily need to be done in that kind of like stylized approach to get to the ending. It could have been done differently, and I feel like a shorter runtime would have benefited this movie, because a lot of it, especially when Scott Ham-Duen's character of Will is going through this depressive state for most of the movie, where he's trying to get over the loss of his daughter, he's turned to alcohol and kind of just a steady routine of like a ready meal and alcohol basically every night, and he blacks out and wakes up the next morning. That is a rinse and repeat kind of scenario multiple times throughout this movie, which really didn't need to be done. Then also my other kind of gripe here is when we get the recordings played by Tobin Bell's character of Vaughn, where I get the message and what they were doing like with the recordings and trying to kind of relay this with this important messaging about the deceased daughter, but the recording messages, it's like played on loop continuously quite a lot, to the point where it got a little bit annoying. And I didn't think I'd say that about hearing Tobin Bell's voice, but yeah, it did. And I felt like, as I say, this ending isn't anything that's going to kind of blow your socks off, and it's nothing that's original either, which is unfortunate. So my overall score for ReBroken is a 2 out of 5 stars. So have you seen this movie? Are you going to go check it out? I'll leave any and all comments down below so we can continue the discussion down there. If you've enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, and also press the red subscribe button down below so I can see you again on a future video. Also, if you're unaware, I do have a Patreon. I have a couple of tiers you can select from, which starts from £2 per month, and these tiers do include like early videos, my release schedules, say what goes onto the channel. You can actually pick out movies for me to review. There's so much stuff to find out about my Patreon. The link is down below in the description box if you want to check out more, and I want to give a big special thank you to all my awesome Patreons who help support the channel. And once again, thank you so much for taking your own time out to check out this review. And until the next time that I see you, I'll be seeing you later.